the dead body that fooled Hitler and won the war. In the spring of 1943, a dead body washed ashore on the coast of Spain. He was wearing a British military uniform, chained to his wrist, a briefcase. Inside that briefcase were top-secret documents, letters, military plans signed by some of the highest-ranking officers in the Allied forces. The Germans got their hands on it within hours, and what they found inside changed the entire course of World War II. But here's the thing. The man was never a soldier. He never fired a single shot. He never set foot on a battlefield. He was already dead before any of this began. This is the story of Operation Mincemeat, the most insane deception in military history. By 1943, the Allies had a problem. They needed to invade Europe, and everyone, including Hitler, knew the most logical entry point was Sicily. The island sitting right at the bottom of Italy, just a short distance from North Africa, where Allied forces were already stationed. If the Allies landed in Sicily, they could push straight into Italy and begin collapsing the Axis from the south. But that also meant the Germans were waiting for them there. Thousands of soldiers, tanks, artillery, defensive positions built into the cliffs and coastlines. A direct assault on Sicily would cost hundreds of thousands of lives. The Allies needed the Germans to look somewhere else. But how do you make an entire army move away from the place they're most certain you're going to attack? You lie to them. But not just any lie. A lie so convincing, so perfectly constructed, that even Hitler himself would believe it. It started with a question that one British intelligence officer asked out loud in a meeting. What if we gave the Germans a dead body? A body carrying fake military documents. Documents that pointed to a completely different invasion location. The idea sounded insane. It probably was. But the team at British intelligence, specifically a man named Ewan Montague and another named Charles Cholmondeley, decided to try it anyway. The plan was simple in theory. Find a dead body, give him a fake identity, plant fake documents on him, drop him in the ocean near Spain, let the Germans find him. Simple in theory, nearly impossible in practice. First, they needed a body. Not just anybody. It had to be someone who had died in a way that could be confused with drowning. Someone with no family that would ask questions. Someone whose disappearance would go unnoticed. After weeks of searching, they found him. A Welsh man named Glyndwr Michael. A homeless man who had died in London after accidentally ingesting rat poison. He had no family. No one was looking for him. He was, in the cruelest sense of the word, perfect for the mission. They gave him a new name, Captain William Martin, Royal Marines. They built him an entire life from scratch. They created identity documents, a military ID, letters from a fictional fiancée named Pam. Love letters, written by hand, full of emotion and personal detail. A photograph of her, ticket stubs, a receipt from a London jeweller for an engagement ring, an angry letter from his bank about an overdrawn account. Every single detail was designed to make William Martin feel real. Because if the Germans found the body and started investigating, they couldn't find a single hole in his story. Then came the documents. The fake military plans stated clearly. The Allies were not going to invade Sicily. Instead, the plans described two separate invasion points, one in Greece, one in Sardinia. Sicily was mentioned, but only as a decoy. A deliberate misdirection to make the Germans think the Allies wanted them to focus on Sicily, when the real targets were elsewhere. It was a lie wrapped inside a lie. The documents were signed by real generals, written on real military letterhead, aged carefully so they didn't look too new. Every word was crafted by people who understood that one mistake, one inconsistency, would mean the Germans would see through it instantly. And if the Germans saw through it, the Allied soldiers landing on the actual beaches would walk straight into a massacre. On the 30th of April 1943, a British submarine surfaced off the coast of Huelva, Spain. In the early hours of the morning, the crew carefully lowered a canister into the water. Inside that canister was the body of Glyndwr Michael, Captain William Martin. a dead man with a fake life and documents that could change the war. They released him into the current and watched him drift toward shore. Then they submerged and disappeared. Within hours, a Spanish fisherman found the body. Spanish authorities recovered the briefcase, and because Spain, while officially neutral, had strong ties to Nazi Germany, the documents quickly made their way to German intelligence. The Germans studied everything: the letters, the documents, the personal items, the identity of Captain William Martin. Their forensic experts examined the body. They checked the documents for signs of forgery. They cross-referenced the names of the generals who had signed the letters. Everything checked out. Everything was real, and the military plans were clear. The invasion was coming, but not to Sicily. Hitler received the intelligence report personally. He believed it. He immediately ordered reinforcements to Greece and Sardinia. Tanks that were positioned in Sicily were moved. Troops were redeployed. Defensive resources were pulled away from the very island the Allies were actually planning to invade. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, one of the greatest military minds in German history, was sent to Greece to oversee the defense. Sicily was left exposed. On the 9th of July 1943, Allied forces landed on the beaches of Sicily. They expected resistance. They expected heavy casualties. They expected the full force of the German military to be waiting for them. Instead, they found a fraction of the defending force. Sicily fell in 38 days. Mussolini was removed from power shortly after. Italy began to collapse from within. The entire southern flank of the Axis opened up because of a dead man, a fake name, and a briefcase full of lies. After the war, British intelligence declassified the operation. The full story became public. Glyndwr Michael, the homeless man from Wales who never knew he would one day help win a world war, was finally given a grave marker with his real name on it. It reads, Glyndwr Michael, served as Major William Martin, a man who never fired a shot, never wore a uniform in life, never knew the names of the generals, the plans, or the war he helped change. But without him, thousands of soldiers who walked onto those beaches in Sicily might never have walked off. Operation Mincemeat is one of the most extraordinary stories in the history of warfare. Not because of explosions or battles or acts of physical courage, but because the most powerful weapon used in that operation was a story. A carefully constructed, meticulously detailed, brilliantly executed story. And it worked. If you want more stories like this, the ones they don't teach in history class, make sure you subscribe, because there are files that were never meant to be opened.